Okay. We were working on a games tree, the silver birch, last week, and what we did was we took a cinema tree and we dwindled it down to the real-time tree. So we were working on our clusters and we kind of left you at that. And so we are going to pick that up today. And I have our cluster open, and one of the things that I did while you guys were gone, just making sure, seeing who's joining in the chat. If we got anybody saying hello. All right, so what we have is our branch that we were trying to get looking like this. And one of the things that I noticed was that the tip of the leaf pinches in a little bit. And so what I've done for that is I've added on a branch tube and then stuck a frond on the end of it. And I was using these little extra leaves just to change up the shape because there's just too much repeat pattern of that one leaf. So rather than loading in a zillion leaves, I just have 2 leaves on a tree. And I am going to like kind of give it a little bit more shape there. So if you grab the frond, you can actually shape the tip of it. Make it a little bigger. I got kind of squunched up in there with my menus. Go to the geometry, and I have the boundary pushed up a little bit. See, that's kind of starting. I was getting the twig in the actual thing there. And I have the width a little fatter than I need it to be, and I've done some funky things with the curves in here, just to pinch the tip a little bit. Might be a little too much. I can just go ahead and drop the end down, or maybe do something like that. More of a spade look. And now I've got like a good extra variation in there. And I added probably a little too many of those guys on there. I have them on the tree, sitting on these branches with phyllotaxy as my gin style, and I have them as alternating. Because they're rotating around the tree, it's not a perfect alternating because one of them's out that way. And so I actually am going to switch these to opposite for a second and actually just spread them out and put a lot less on the tree. Space it out a little bit. And I don't really want that guy down there, but he's kind of fun. Kind of fills in the space down there. And so I got some overlap coming with these guys. I'm gonna just do something like this, and then maybe even just change up the position a little bit more so they're a little more spaced out. And now that I have them somewhat where I want them, I'm just gonna go ahead and node mode, tweaking just like we were last week to get them to not be in the way of each other. I might go ahead and get rid of that guy, and there's a little overlap going up here. A little overlap is fine, but a lot is not great. One of the things that we touched on last week is that we were going to show you a little bit about lighting and the normals, and so the next thing I want to do before I send my map out is I'm going to go to render mode, and we're going to go to material, and we're going to go to normal. And this is showing me what I've got going on in here. Now, depending on how you light your tree, there's a lot of different things that you would be doing, but you want to set this all up before you get it in the actual tree if you're doing something very specific. So for this tree, I'm going to set it up the correct way with PBR to try to get a highlight. Instead of having a sheen across the entire leaf cluster, we want to give it the appearance that there's speckly light hitting individual leaves. And I've got some good variation in here already because I've turned and curled and moved the leaves all around. And I'm gonna see if I can turn my audio up real fast. I don't know if that's helpful or not. I can try talking a little louder as well. I think I got some notes that I was quiet. I'm a very soft-spoken person, so that's also that. All right. So we've got some variation in here. I like that the normal is popping up this little bump here, but on a game tree, unfortunately, by the time you send that out, you're not going to be able to see those ridges that much. So our lighting controls are going to be in the leaf properties, and you're going to go to skin, and down to lighting. And on this tree, I'm gonna add just a little bit of puffiness to the leaves. And I'm gonna take the sorry about pause. I'm gonna missing some settings. So I was trying to find them. I lost my train of thought there a little bit. Alright, so we're in the skin tab and we're just adjusting the amount that these guys are turning. We're missing the individual leaf controls in this build somehow. And that's okay. I'm going to see if we can find it. Beta builds. Alright, we've got the scale in there. And we have some individual light controls down here that are supposed to be showing up. And since we don't have them, we'll just turn them on the leaves themselves. We've got enough variation here where the light is going to hit this at a different spot each time. And this overlap here, I kind of want to get rid of that guy. And I got some extra people coming in. Hello. Alright, I'm going to get rid of this one little overlap leaf and then we're going to send it out. Just going to delete him. And that looks fine. And so sometimes you have to do this more than once. I usually I'll start it and I'll put this guy on the tree just to see where we're at and then kind of assess it from there. So I usually leave this open. What I'm going to do real fast is do a quick save as, just to save my cluster just in case we don't lose it. And we're going to do a file export material. And I did these at 2K just to have them a little smaller for this. And I've got the standard maps in there. I'm gonna hit OK. And save that to my tree folder. This was one from another cluster folder, and so we renamed this last time we started with our bear, and so I'm just going to call this cluster 1. It looks like I sent it out last week as the main cluster 1, so maybe I'll just keep that name and save over that one since we're going to be bringing it back in. And it'll take just a second, and I'm going to open up our tree from last week. Which was our game tree. And it's going to take just a second to open up because let's get that. And I had it up. Alright, as you remember from last week, we had a lot going on. We basically stripped down the top part of the tree, and we still are really, really high in the poly count because we haven't dropped our polygons yet. We put this bear on the tree, and we're going to bring in that material that we just made. I'm going to go to cluster folder, and we are going to find the main cluster spring. Open, it should bring them all in, and that's our new one. Looks like we're missing streaking on the main color file, and that's okay. I think that might be a little beta bug, but we'll find out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and make a mesh cutout for this, and we want to redo the one we did for last week. So on our bare file here, we want to put some anchors so that we can see our main leaf clusters show up on the tree. So we're gonna go back to the main cutout here and go to edit that one. And you only need to save them in the hive. I'm gonna grab the anchor tool, and I'm gonna make this a little bigger for you guys so you can see what I'm doing. I want to very carefully, I'm going to turn the color off because I can barely see my branches because it's just so dark. Put them where I would like to place the main branches. So I think one here, I'm just guessing really for now. And I like to keep them farther out because I don't want to get it all cluttered up in here. And we'll just see where this gets us. And it's okay to put more than you need on the file because you can always take them out or print them out. I think it's going to be real awkward if we don't have one up here, so I'm going to go ahead and add them in, and then we'll just take them out from there. So I'm going to save that one into the top one. And now when we add our leaf mesh to the tree, these are set in Gen to all anchors. In that anchor system there, you can choose a 1 or a 2. I'm just show you that again. You can right click these and give them an ID if you want them to have a separate identity. And so right now I just have them on all anchors because I don't need the variation. But when we go to our second layer, since this is going to be a hero tree, we'll end up having 2 IDs on these guys. Oh, that's a lot of main leaf clusters, way too many probably, because these are going to be pretty big, but we're going to go ahead and see what they look like on the tree. The one that I just brought in, I'm going to make sure that two-sided is on, and I'm going to go ahead and assign it. I'm in material type, and putting that guy on there. Really, really teeny tiny. And let's go ahead and get them about the size that we need for the tree. Okay. So those are kind of big compared to the little guy, and these will be bigger than normal, I guess, compared to a VFX tree where we can have sort of that realism. This is basically leaves that are going to hold the shape of our tree. Now, first thing you notice when I put them on the tree is that we have weird shadows and a lot of overlap, and the lighting's not so great. As you shine the light around, you can see that I'm getting some glintiness, but it looks a little dark. What we've added in I was slouching. I was falling out of the circle. Apparently. Alright. We've added a new type of rendering in the new V9 modeler. So you can turn off the backside normals, which is what's giving me that dark right there. I'm going to set this up the normal way that we use for V8, and that is politically correct PBR. And then I'm going to show you how to use this backside normal if you want to render it that way. So this is going to depend a lot on your scene, essentially, or what you're putting it in. So it got me smelling the flowers because I was drifting off towards the bottom there. All right. Okay, one of the first things I like to do when I'm setting this up the PBR way is have them all sky facing to start. And this is going to help me figure out where these need to go and where the light is going to actually hit the cluster. I'm going to go to orientation. I'm going to do sky influence first. And nobody wants a tree like this. Maybe if you were flying above it, but alright. I'm going to start by curling these down just a little bit. We're going to use the deformation curl. And I haven't set the mesh on this guy yet, which is why it's turbo ugly right now. So we're going to have to do that. I forgot. Alright, we're going to hit edit on the mesh and go ahead and make one for this guy. Go back to our points, and I'm going to make the angle for the folding kind of going up the leaf. I guess my direction is slightly skewed. And that's okay. I'm gonna make this last leaf really, really small, just save on polygon counts. I'm gonna add a point in the middle. I like to put the points and make sure they're on a main branch, just so that if you fold in the middle, it won't be a complete slice off. If I put the dot over here and I fold, then when things get too extreme, I'll have a direct chop off there. So it does kind of help if you leave them along the branches. I'm going to save that one as my middle, and I might end up needing more later. We'll just find out. I think the one I set up last week, we put a few more in there. I'm going to do 2 on the last one so that I can have some extra bend going down the branch. Ideally, I would like another one up here, but for now, we'll just try this. I'm going to set anchors as well, because we're going to make a little set of small branches for this tree. So, I'm going to do 2 IDs while I set these anchors. One is going to be for a small set that droops down, and one is going to be for a set that sits on the top of the leaf. So this is going to be for the top, and I don't really need that many. And then we're going to do just on the tips of the branches, maybe like one here and one here. We'll try that. And these are going to be ID number 2. I'm going to save that out, and we'll be able to see it on the tree now. And so now I can actually do something with these guys because they can now fold and curl. And so I'm doing kind of a shelfy, droopy tree to begin with. Let's go back to our picture. Game tree is much more about fill than accuracy. And so these guys do kind of have a swooping down shape. And so with that smaller cluster, that's what I'm going to add on anchor number 2. And that will be my downward part. And then the anchors on top are going to be the fluff. I don't have any technical term for that. We've got, we like fluffy trees. All right. Right off the bat, everything's doing the same thing, and that's exactly what we don't want. And in order to knock some of these out, they're going to naturally fall into each other. So that when I start adding variation in there, that's actually going to help us kill some of the clusters in here. So on these guys, we are going to go to the orientation controls again, and we're going to put some variance. First thing I like to do is actually add twist in there. I generally always have this on the leaves. It's just a really good way to hide the shapes. I'm gonna add some variation in the size. I'm gonna yawn. I really have one of those in there. And because this tree needs more than just variance here, we're gonna play around with that. And I've got a few people in here following along, but no one's talking. I was making sure I wasn't missing any messages or anything. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. And we're also going to be doing a spooky tree later in the month for October. And so if you have any suggestions for what you would like to see for the spooky tree, I would love to hear those. Alright, so we've got the second guy going, and not perfect yet. There's still a lot of repeat patterns in here. So I've got them all doing the same curl. And so when you see this extra repeaty pattern, that's what kills the ambiance of the tree. So we're going to shape that guy up a little bit too. I'm going to put a little bit of variation in the curl, and I'm going to fold the sides. With the amount of polygons that I have in there, I really don't want to fold it that much, I guess. It wasn't looking great. And then we're gonna go ahead and do didn't mean to move my monitor, but I did. Just some small adjustments in here just to keep them from looking exactly the same way. The more you can do with putting variations in pretty much everything is going to just keep it looking nice and clean. So, collision and collision and clusters. So a cluster file is a lot bigger now, and so unlike our collision for our VFX model, I like to leave this off to the end or whatever. If I put this on high quality, I'm going to leave too many leaves. And so what I like to do is, instead of using collision on the first set of leaves, oh, also forgot to add that for the frond, it's going to count in the collision. And so the stick holding everything is definitely the one that should never ever go away. So in the collision tab, you're going to put that one to nothing. If you're going to use collision, it's up to you if you want to use collision or not. I think what I was trying to say is that I typically try to set it up without collision on and get the fewest amount of leaf meshes on the tree so that the collision is that's an extra helper at the end, but I don't have to worry about it being the sole controller of whether things are like overlapping or not. Hopefully that made sense. On this one, I'm actually going to put collision off for right now. I'm going to set it to nothing. And then what I might end up doing is having the next set of leaves and the inside ones. And we'll talk about that in a second. So I'm going to turn it back off. And we're going to go ahead and make our smaller piece. There is a bit of a flatness going on in here. Like I didn't get enough of the shininess on this material. I'm going to see if this can be bumped up a little bit. There we go. Now I got some light in there. And so it's way shinier than it would be in real life. But once you get this in the game, you really want to be able to catch some highlights instead of actually seeing that leaf texture. You can see at 2K that you really don't retain a lot of the quality on the leaves. You just mostly get what it looks like from back here. Alright, so we need a cluster that's a little smaller now. And then we're going to get to some polygon scrapping because we still have, whoop, this is just a ginormous tree. So I'm going to hit save. And we're going to go back to our cluster. And I don't remember if I saved this one as, so we're just leave there too. We're going to do file save as, and this is going to be cluster 2. And I'm really just going to pick the exact same thing, but I'm going to use one of the ones that I've already made that already has a tip ready to go. Because I've already got this relatively the same size that I need, I might just go ahead and delete these other branches and use this part up here as the tip branch. So we're going to go into node mode, which already was, and just start from the bottom and delete these main branches, and we'll be able to zoom in a little bit. And this is going to be our new set. I'm going to just make this guy a little shorter, way shorter. And I've got too many leaves on these guys. I'm just going to go ahead and delete. I'm going to double click and zoom out on accident. That's also a winning moment. And delete, just like we did last time, the ones we don't want in here. I'm going to use the bend tool really fast and just move this guy up and make it a straighter one. This piece will look better if it's straight because it's going to be shorter. I lost the bend tool. Okay, the bend tool somehow shot off the edge of the branch, and that happens sometimes, so that's okay. We'll just move it a different way. I'm gonna go back to the mode and then back into the right viewport window. I don't know if you remember this from last week. We're just in the XY plane and we're just zoomed in. All right, so we're back on track. I'm gonna maybe make the leaves a little bigger for this one section, just because we can. Increasing the size a little bit. Make these guys a little longer. I'm controlling the size of the frond by increasing the length of the branch that it's sitting on. And then we are going to continue with our quest to make this guy straight. Working. Might be able to straighten it out in the regular gen mode. With the gravity. It's because I needed to turn in gen mode the planer on in order to edit it in node mode. That's what was going on there. So now that I've got that on, I'm gonna let it catch up for a second because it seems like it's processing, and we are going to see if we can straighten this one guy out a little bit by pulling it back up. And it is not enjoying this. They're trying to help me out with the break. I think it had shot like way off. That's why I couldn't grab it earlier. So I don't know what's going on with that. Alright, what happened just now was I turned on Gnarl and it moved the entire thing out of the way. And so that is not going to work for us, but we got it back. Alright. We'll just keep going and we'll keep the bend. I think that I just have too many leaves on this so far. It needs to be a little smaller. So let's go ahead and see if we can get the bend tool to show up on this guy. There it is up at the beginning. Alright, so if we zoom in on this guy and really concentrate here, I'm going to try to straighten this out as much as I can. And this little short guy is going to get straightened out too. Might be just too small to use the bend tool. I'm going to move that guy and then move this one a little bit. Alright, so we've got something straightforward out now. I think that's good. I'm gonna maybe see if we can... Maybe we just move this leaf around the other direction. That would be a good idea. Node edit. While we are in this mode, you can use the art director tool. I'm pushing the A button. And I use this all the time for just wiggling the leaves out of the way. And I don't really need that leaf right now, so we're gonna delete that guy, and then there's an overlap thing going here, and so I'm gonna just try to curl it out of the way and move that one down a little bit, and then we'll just see if we've got some overlap still. Alright, so this one is, make sure we're saved. Let's see if I can move. There it is. We got it back. All right. That's what we were hoping for. Okay. So now that we've got this bent back up, I can kind of fill in that spot there, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and kill this one again. Sorry to be so harsh. Goodbye. You don't make the cut. Alright. And this just looks a little weird and awkward to me. Is this one on the front, or is this one still hanging out here? It is our front. I'm gonna move these back a little bit. I'm just gonna go to gin mode and push them back. I see if I can get some better fill in there. Okay, so this isn't such a bad little tip that we've got going here. I think that I still have way more leaves than I usually would on one of these guys. I might just go ahead and get rid of that tiny leaf and that one just to give it some space. Alright, and we'll see what this looks like on the tree, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Alright, so this is our small. We're gonna do file save. I have enough room in this guy. If you are going to export your material out and you're going to do more of a triangle cutout towards the top, you might want to give yourself just a little bit more room so you have room in the cutout when you go to make it. I'm going to do it right about here. And then do file, export material, hit OK again. And we didn't get our streaking colors last time. Let's see if that works for this one. And this one's going to be cluster 2, and it's our spring. And let's go pull it in on the tree. And grab it real fast there. I made some real tiny ones a long time ago. Those are still hanging out in there. Alright, let's make our cutout again for this one, and we're going to put it at the base of the tree. The computer is running a lot, so I'm going to give it a second to catch up. Does anybody have any questions so far? We've got a few of you guys in here hanging out with us. Oh, I was missing an entire line of chat in here. I couldn't actually see what was in the chat room. Someone has suggested the Deku tree, which is fabulous. Within like the first couple of months of working at SpeedTree, I actually tried to make a Deku tree because I just had to. Probably one of my favorite game trees of all time. Okay, now that we got it back in here, I lost my mesh because I closed it down for a second. I was in anchor mode, that's why I couldn't move the dots. I thought the computer was catching up on me. I don't know if you can hear it, every so often it sounds like a small jet is taking off, and it's basically all of the cores in my computer going nuts. Alright, so on this one, I don't have a one going down the middle. I don't foresee me folding that a whole lot. These I'm gonna have quite a few of, and I want to keep the polygons down as much as I possibly can. I don't need those anchors in there. I accidentally put them in there. I'll just kill those guys. So this is gonna be my low, and then I might even keep it for the second LOD. I'm gonna put one across there and see what that gives us. I think I'd rather have it there. I'm gonna go ahead and mask out that little section. And I accidentally chopped a leaf off there, so I gotta fix that. And then I think that we might not need that extra one, but I'm going to show you how to offset the LEDs as well. So we're going to go ahead and put one more slice in there so that we can really turn these. And so I'm not really focusing on the fold here. I'm just focusing on how much I can get with the curl with this guy. And mask that last one out. Okay. So it's kind of a funky mesh, but we'll go with it. All right, now we can put this on the tree with our second set of anchors. We're gonna go file add, we're gonna do a leaf. And with the anchor, you don't have to worry about your gin style because it's gonna be only the number coming from the anchor. Forgot to mention that earlier. Cluster 2, I don't think we put the backs on it yet. We're going to go back to settings and do that. And so now we're getting our fluffy look. And these are real tiny. They're kind of hiding in there. And so there's still some places we want to hide. And we're getting a question about making the custom normals. I showed that in a second, and I'm going to show in just a second after we get all the leaves set up on the tree a different way to set up the normals on the whole tree. But we were working in the cluster file. You can go to render mode, material, and normal, and adjust these guys in here by using the lighting settings, which are in skin down here at the bottom. Alright, so these guys are a little small. Let's go ahead and match them up with that cluster that we've got in there. We can make these a little bigger and they're going to fill up the space. And as you remember, I put a 1 and a 2 on this cutout before. And so I actually want these to be the ones that are drooping down. So I'm going to put that on anchor 2. Oop. Wrong leaf. Go back to the right leaf and put them on anchor 2. And so and now the 2 or 3 that I selected at the very tip of the branch are down there. So all of these guys, I want to point them sky facing first because I want to know exactly where the light is shining on the top. Remember I said we were doing this PBR way, right? Now I'm going to curl them down. And I'm going to kind of move them back so that they are more of the droopy ones. And I want these guys to hide again. And I kind of over curled them a little bit. You see that harsh angle there? We don't really want any of that. I'm going to turn it back. And we're going to use twist to hide the fact that they are all the same shape. We're going to use the skin tab and add some variance in there as well. And we're going to zoom out while we do this so that we can see the overall look we just got. And I made a very repetitive pattern right there, and so we really want to kind of hide that as well. And so, and we're going to kind of zoom in on one of these guys and make sure we don't have overlap. And one of the things that I'm doing here is instead of focusing on one branch, which we do periodically, so you can see what's going on, I'm getting the general shape first. So just for a little bit, you know, so you don't, it's kind of like drawing when you get down into it and you start focusing too hard on an individual branch, you're missing out on the overall shape of the tree. And so we want to do that first, and then we'll come back to like really narrowing down our details when we get the gist of what we want on the tree there. And so I'm going to unfocus it. And so silhouette wise, turning around the tree, we've got a good shape going. We've got some catching up on chat, but that might not work so well right now, or as I keep going. Okay. So we're gonna need a leaf number 2 when we get in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and fix this repeat problem that I'm seeing this repeat in here and curling down again. We're gonna make these curl a little bit different, and we're gonna make the up down that I set in orientation slightly different on each of these guys so that they're not all doing exactly the same thing. I'm also gonna do the same thing with right and left. Let's see if we can get that in there. Okay. It's not perfect, but we can start going. So now is my top leaf. I'm going to add an anchor for the top, and they're going to be the fill. And on these, I'm going to make them, instead of sky facing, they're going to be kind of more up and down. So we're going to go ahead and just copy these guys. Why not? We're going to set it to the right anchor. We're going to put it back on number 1. And then we're going to make these guys go up. And I'm gonna turn this off for sky influence. And now I got a nice little fluffy thing going. I think these guys could be slightly bigger on the inside of the branches to create some fill. So while the leaves might not actually be that big in real life, because they're hidden on the inside of the tree, that's how you would make it nice and fluffy. And there's a lot going on in here. There's too many leaves right now. We'll get to that in a second. Also look like we got a floater up here. I'm gonna go ahead and fix that as well. I think that it's sitting on this and just kind of hitting the angle wrong because it got too skinny up there. I think we're good. I think it's not. Looked like it was coming off the right direction. Okay. So I probably added too many of these guys, and I also want to concentrate on the size being a little bigger on the inside. So we're going to take this guy and say, according to that second branch there, trunk, branch 2, we are going to make the ones on the inside just a little bit bigger to give us a nice fluff. And if we do some with the curves along the tree, you can just adjust the sizes as we go, and that helps break up the monotony. Alright, these guys got a little over curled. I think I'm going to take this out for a second and see where we're at with that. I think that having them not pump up quite so much is actually going to help us out. There we go. I don't like this curl up that we've got going there, so I'm going to fix that. And then we'll be on our way to getting some of these leaves out of here. Now, kind of just adjust a little bit. I feel like I need music or something while I'm thinking. It would be helpful, right? Okay. So we talked a little bit about collision, and I think we can get rid of some of this stuff going on the inside here. We're just gonna take that cluster one and knock some of these out. I'm going to just regular knockout and to see if that helps us out a little bit. And I really don't want to lose the ones on the end of the branch, and so what I'm going to do is say that according to the branch, I don't want the ones on the end to go away. And because it's on the anchor, it has no idea where that is, and so I didn't like that. There we go. I was on the wrong tier. Yeah. Alright, so looking a little like filmy. Alright, now we've got our upper canopy doing its thing. I'm gonna see what it looks like with collision on. We're gonna go high quality just for kicks and giggles. And that actually did a pretty good job. Got rid of some of the ones in the middle, and I had already set the fronds not to go away. They're set to nothing. And I got a question about, catch up and read it. custom UV layout with the textures and the branch. One of the neat things they added to V9 is, I don't know if this is what you're talking about at all, but you can arrange everything in the atlas when you get ready to export this. So if I was going to send this game tree out right now, I guess I should have read the question so you know exactly what I'm answering here. The question was, is it possible to make a custom layout with a texture, trunk, and branches? And so I'm assuming that you mean something like this. Okay, where I've got my bark material in here, and if you're gonna make a custom atlas for something else, or to bring it in another program, or to bring it in to Unreal, you can move these around now if you need to. And you can also decide what goes in the atlas and what does not go in the atlas. You can resize these guys by grabbing the corner. Obviously don't want them to overlap or anything. And then you're going to be able to, this in a different section, but you're going to have this atlas handling here. So you can actually name the atlas, and on that export, send them out to two different areas if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, your regular export would be just if you stick everything in the atlas, or if you don't on export. If that's not what you mean, here we go. Yes, we also have a pretty cool little like UV stacker that we're coming up with. It's kind of hard to explain in one go. I'm going to keep going on shape. On the collision right now, kind of hard to see what popped in and out there, but lots of these outside ones did, and we really liked what it did for the inside. But on these guys, I don't really want them to fight with the one before it, and I don't want to lose the one before it. So on collision, we're going to make sure that it is off, and I did that earlier, forgot that I did it. And then so just these two guys are duking it out, and it actually really does kind of worked for me. I'm gonna leave it on from here on out, and so that's kind of our final effect there. I made kind of a flat tree on accident. I don't have enough branches coming out the other way. Next thing we're gonna work on is optimizing this guy. We didn't drop the polygon count enough for the games. I'm gonna give it a quick save. I'm not gonna do full seasons on this tree just because it'll be a lot easier if we don't. And we did that on the VFX tree, and I think it's just more monotonous shaping and things like that. So, we took down, when we started taking everything away, I think we left some of the random things in here from earlier. These were the tiny branches, and those kind of add a lot of flavor to the tree, and so we're going to try to drop those down to where we can use them as well. They're too small to see right now, so they're really not worth the cost. But I'm going to take the tiny leaves off. One of the cutest things you can do for your tree, I'm probably not going to do this one because it's such a high poly tree, is to put little leaf growth that comes directly off the trunk, like when a tree is sprouting. It just really makes it have that real tree feel. Okay, I've got crazy shadows going on here. Okay, so I won't bail on you yet. I'm going to keep going for just a little bit longer since I've got you back up and running. I really don't know what went on there. I'm going to blame YouTube. We were in the middle, I don't know where it cut off, of shaping this guy out and switching out the mesh on the bottom. And one of the things that we used last week is I'm just going to go ahead and redo the mesh and stitch area. I'm going to disconnect this guy. And scares you, huh? Delete the stitch. And if you'll remember, we had a mesh converter already on this, but before I do that, I'm going to grab the mesh and we are going to make it a smaller version of the same one. Excuse me. My voice is cracking apparently. Alright, so we're going to grab, instead of the highest there, we're just going to load the lower one in. I probably could go low to lowest and just keep the last two on lowest, and that way it will LED a little bit. We're going to convert this anyway, so it's not the biggest deal in the world if we don't have all that in there. Let's just see how big this one is, and we'll go from there. And so now it should say, there we go. And since we switched them out, I guess I should have shown you this with described on so you could see. That we are now smaller. And one of the neat things about the mesh LED is that when we go turn our LEDs on and window property, global properties, we're going to say enable, and I want 3 for this tree, and this should drop now and stay in place, and so I don't have that lowest one going, but I think we'll be okay polygon wise, since we're on 25 for high. That means the rest of my tree needs to be around 25 or so. So I'm gonna put the mesh converter back on. You guys saw this last week and the week before. We're just gonna keep showing it to you because it's pretty cool. I'm gonna shine the light on this a little better. And this is where we extended it last week, and we kept all this lovely detail down here, and it's really cool. It's still sticking out a little bit. I think it's ready to go right here. I'm not gonna sweat trying to get it a little taller. If you guys don't remember this from last week, bye. Got people popping in and out. All right. We lost so many viewers because of the crash, but that's okay. All right, I'm gonna hold down the T button, and I'm gonna place this one a little taller, just and see if I can't get it all the way to the top for kicks and giggles. And then I'm just gonna do the, I just pushed the W key, and I'm gonna make it align with the trunk when I move it down. So I'm gonna push the QT, which changes the screen space to line along the trunk, and now when I move up and down, I've got it right along the path there, and then that way I'm just not losing any of the texture goodness that I got going on up there. Alright, got a pretty big blend piece going on down there, and we had set the blend. I've got a little chip in there. I'm gonna make the preview bigger so you can see it. I'm going to get rid of that, and so I can do that by making the clearance a little bigger. So what was happening there, just move out for a second, is one of those little bits that sticks out wasn't being grabbed. It looks like it was right at the top. So if smaller clearance is going to cut in there, we want to get rid of that. And up here, it seems like it's doing a little bit of a poor job following. I'm gonna give it a couple more points in there. Let's see if we can loosen that up a little bit. I think I might need to recenter this guy. You can click this guy wherever he's at, and it's gonna center it in the top of the mesh, and that straightened me back out. And now we should be ready to go. Now my blend piece, I'm not sure that I see it right now. I'm gonna see where that is for a second. And we're gonna look at it. This is the game tree. I'm gonna put the resolution down to 4K. And we are going to look at just the blends for a second. And there, it's just doing such a good job blending, and you can't even see it. So, that's a good sign that we're ready to go. Backgrounds and blends back. Yeah, it's undetectable. Alright, and then for this one, we're going to convert in place, because I'm going to keep the juicy goodness down here, because there's a fun transition. And then the rest of the bark will be white on the way up. And we sent that out as a 4K before, and I'm going to put it in my tree folder really fast. Should have been there, but This is going to be our trunk, bark. Make sure you're not renaming anything that I shouldn't be renaming, and we're gonna let it go. This part does take a second. You just kind of have to relax, take your hand off the mouse, and let it do its thing. And I still got you guys on the stream, I hope. There we go, magic. All right, we've got our extended trunk here now, and I am just going to we disconnected this guy here, and that was our main trunk. I'm gonna try to match what we did by, excuse me. Copying everything. I'm just right clicking the top there, and I'm going to copy all visible, and I'm going to add them to the spine there. And I have angered my computer. Apparently we're just going to let it catch up for a second. There we go. And then we're going to stick our skin copy on there as well. We did much shaping on that guy, and then we're going to put our branches back onto it. Okay, ideally I would have started with the right mesh rather than having to swap out like that. I think we've got some... Got a little bug going on there with the lighting, and that's okay. I think there are some other things in here that we should have copied out. Just to make sure I've got everything in there. All right, and we are going to do a file save increment. Just to make sure we're on there. I'm gonna see if I can close and open this back out and see if I can get our rendering issue there. Got a little shader mess up. All right, and since it is after 4 o'clock and I've got our maxed out, what I will do is cover the rest of the optimization that we're going to do on this tree. We got our texture streaming in, so it's still a little problematic there. And we are going to do the optimization on this guy. Look at how many triangles I have in here. This is just way too many. So we're going to go ahead and drop these before we go. I don't need as many in the tip. This is just spacing, this orange one. This is a distribution curve. So I'm not saying that there's less triangles in the top of the tree. I'm saying that I'm concentrating them more in the bottom. And we want the triangles in the bottom because this is the area where you're viewing. It's the area that's going to have more displacement. And if I'm going to walk by the tree and notice all of those triangles. Whereas if I'm looking up at the tree, I don't need these up here. So we're going to go ahead and take out a lot of these. I'm going to, instead of using an absolute amount, I'm just going to put in a lower number here. And keep going because it just seems like we have way too many in here. And I don't want to go too low because I want to keep them down here. We're going to use optimization in order to get the ones out at the top. So I'm going to turn optimization on, and I'm going to use the profile curve for it. I'm going to do a minute minimum, and then we're going to use optimization more on the top of the tree. Much farther down. There we go. I'm still zoomed out so far that you can't see what's going on with my optimization there. We want to drastically reduce the amount of radial segments in this guy as well, so we're going to use the profile curve for that. We have splits up here, so one thing to keep in mind is that if you have a split going off a tree there, you probably want to not bring it all the way down to the bottom, but leave it here just so you have enough up there. But I still have just way too many in here. I'm going to drastically bring that down as well. And optimization seems to be doing a little funky thing. Still want some triangles in there. And let's see how we did near the bottom. This is where it really counts. All right. I'm gonna tip this back on the standard mode because this is the where you would need to check your stitch area. So like when you're reducing polygons, I can't talk anymore. You should make sure you haven't removed any to where the stitch area, which is more of your problem area, doesn't look wonky. So it looks like we're still in the clear. And we're gonna go back to scribe mode for a second. We can just got rid of the majority of what was causing this tree to be quite so heavy. This look out here is actually basically a square coming off, and it's in kind of a prominent location. So I might actually add a little bit of, make it more of a tube shape. And this is an expensive thing to have on the tree, but why not? I'm going to lower the radial thickness for that guy, and then I'm going to make sure that the ones on the top of the tree, even though these are just on the bottom, we're going to rename this real fast just so that we don't keep getting mixed up. This one is the trunk now. I think we showed you this the other 2 weeks, but you can color code these now, and it's really fun. If you want to make a branch off, it's pretty helpful. So now I can just say all the red ones are my little side things, and then keep these going, or make a set of roots that are another color. And I still have so many radial segments in this, so I don't know if we can kick these even more. We're gonna try. Like way down to the bottom. There we go. That's looking like a game tree more so to the top now. An appropriate amount of segments. So a little heavy down here, and we got it working. I didn't add a lot of displacement onto here, so that one little bump is where that's coming from. When you sit out the mesh converter, it makes a height map for you. So you actually can push that out. So making sure I'm just catching up to what's going on in the chat for a second. Y'all are having a lengthy conversation about normal mapping. I think Dan got it. If there's something that I'm missing there, just let me know, and I'll try to come back to that. All right, and I'm just doing 2 quick things, and we're gonna close out for the day. I took the polygons out of there. I'm gonna turn the leaves off for a second. We're gonna take the polygons out of here as well. I'm basically just gonna leave the link segments that are there and use optimization on this, because it's going to give me the best results, and take them out where it thinks it can do it. I find that sometimes just having more in there and letting it do the work of deciding where there should be there or not, is pretty good. Decide if that split, it just seems like that line was carried down a little bit. Maybe we have too many in there. And towards the top of the tree, I've got this in focus. I don't need as many up here. So do the same thing where I use the curve to take out more segments at the top of the tree. We're gonna say along, this one should have been the trunk. I renamed the wrong one. This is the... Okay, now that we've got that cleared up, the curve will make a lot more sense. The, relative to the trunk there, we're saying that the top part of the tree was less. And I had to double click just now because the zoom needed to be reset. Some people get stuck with that. I'm just going to take out all that I can, all that I feel like I can. I feel like these guys are so much branches that are here that while we're getting angular, I think it's probably okay. And that last set is not real and everything else is fake. And the other thing that we can do to offset polys on this guy, because we are still at 48 and I can still go even lower, the very last thing that you can do is do a mesh LED offset. So on these little guys, I want the nice ones on the bottom of the tree, on the outside of the tree, but I don't really need them in the middle. So you can drop these and push them into the lower LED that you set. You could go to the skin tab and you're going to use this resolution curve right here, mesh LED offset. I'm going to say put a 1 in here and you'll see all of the meshes change to my LOD 2. Sorry, I guess it's technically LOD 1. Just for a second here. So the second one down. So I've offset all of them. So for on this tree, I want to use the curve to not offset the end. So on the branch, which is that big branch right there, actually it's gonna be branch 2, which is the one holding them. Branch 3 is the tinier one with the fronds on it. I'm going to say I don't want to offset the pretty ones on the end. So I'm keeping my bigger mesh down here and then making the ones on the inside a smaller one. You can do this really aggressively if you want. You can all go ahead and offset them all the way down and it will have the lowest LOD on the inside and the middle one in the middle and then the bigger one on the outside. We still want to be able to drop a lot when we actually do LOD, so that might not be as necessary to add in there. So I'm just going to offset them a little bit. I'm going to do that on both sets. And I'm going to look at it and see in regular mode if I have any awkwardness. And there's a lot of awkwardness in the lighting. Something's funky with that. This also just didn't come back onto the tree the same way as it was before. So I'll need to revisit that and see what it is. And so what I'm going to do is next week we are going to set wind on this, set some LEDs, and just throw it into Unreal Engine. And we might have time to, it's really fast after you have your tree made to shrink and make a small shrub to fill in. So if you were going to do a quick forest, you could send out a variation of this tree 3 times. And just sort of what that looks like for if you're building up a scene. So thanks for everybody that stopped by and talked. Really appreciate it, and we will see you guys next week.